The words cruel and unusual punishment were first used in the English Bill of Rights in 1689. Later, they were adopted in the United States of America by the Eighth Amendment to the US Constitution, ratified in 1791, and in the UK Leeward Islands, 1798. Number 1 being crushed by elephants now, we come to the part of the list where survival was difficult. This form of punishment has been used by many countries throughout history, but was last used by India in the 19th century, which is actually not that long ago, if you really think about it. How could your great-grandmother have witnessed one of these crimes? What kinds of crimes would you have committed to be crushed by an elephant, you ask? Well, obviously, if you didn't pay your taxes, that was enough. Number 2 kicking is probably one of the crudest and most brutal forms of punishment on the list. Used by several countries throughout history, but last used in Egypt in the 17th century. Usually against criminals who were road robbers, grave robbers, or anyone who were trying to start a rebellion. This punishment began by having the criminal laid on his stomach, hands tied behind his back, then cut with a razor to increase the size of the anus. And once the cut was made, the cut site was smeared with paste to instantly stop the blood. Then a long wooden stake. The width of a man's arm was inserted, which was sharply narrowed on one side. Then they would start hitting the wooden stake with a hammer, pushing it deeper and deeper. And of course the stake was greased beforehand to make this process faster. Number 3, oet simply means to forget. In French, it was a punishment that was used in many places throughout history, including the Tower of London, where there was a small enclosed room called the Little Ease. Not only was this room pitch black, it was also so small that prisoners could not sit, stand, or lie down while in it and were left in this uncomfortable position for days on end. Number 4, poenacul is Latin for sacking punishment, and that's exactly what it was, only much more terrible and cruel. It was the exclusive punishment for those who killed members of their own family. It was first seen in the 2nd century in Rome, but later it was used by the Germans in the 18th century. It starts with the convicted murderer being placed in a thick leather sack, but to make sure that the person is not alone. A dog is added to it, a rooster, a viper, and a monkey. I don't know what these animals did to deserve this, but at least the evil family murderer doesn't die alone after all. The animals are in the bag. It's sewn up, creating an almost airtight seal.